Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Some really insane things happen at World Youth Day, and there's something symbolically important about one of the priests there who celebrated or led some sort of cringe rave techno thing in front of all the bishops and the kids. And I want to talk about that briefly today because I think it's indicative of a deep sickness that can only be fixed by truth, goodness, and beauty. Now, I did make a video the other day where I'm saying we got to focus, we got to accentuate the positivity, focus on some of the more positive things rather than just the negative. And I believe that. But that doesn't mean that there aren't certain things that come to our attention that we should discuss as long as we find a way to understand them and come away with a feeling other than despair. I think that that's interesting at times for us to do. So I don't know if you saw, but there was a bunch of major scandals at World Youth Day. I did write an article for 1 Peter 5. You can go check that out. It's probably 2 or 3 articles from the top of the homepage about all the sacrilege that took place during the first Mass. It was really, really bad. But I'd like to show you here. You see this? This is Father Guilherme something. This is not at World Youth Day, but this is what he does as a DJ on his own time. And we're going to go why that's important in a second here. The first thing I want to show is this was how the Holy Eucharist was kept at night. And you see some kids here kneeling in front of the Holy Eucharist, spending some time with Jesus. God bless those kids for their intentions. But of course, we have a tent here. We have some plastic boxes, and we have Jesus. Now, the objection to this I've seen is basically, how dare you? The Eucharists were kept in, the proper metal vessels inside the boxes. This is just a place to keep them safe. Fair enough. But you still put Jesus in a plastic box. This is ridiculous. People will say, well, hold on a second. How on earth are they supposed to have all the Eucharist there ready for these huge masses? Exactly. How on earth are they supposed to do it? They can't, so they shouldn't. If you can't do things in a way that's respectful to the Holy Eucharist, then don't do them at all. It's not necessary for everyone who attends one of these massive open-air masses to receive the Holy Eucharist. In fact, the Eucharist being offered is a propitiatory sacrifice for the salvation, for the forgiveness of sins. That's what matters. People there can unite themselves to the prayers of the Mass, offer themselves, in participation in conjunction with the prayers of the priest. And then there are hundreds and thousands of parishes, Catholic parishes in Portugal. It's not hard to find one. It's a pretty Catholic country historically. They can just go to Mass there. I mean, if all those priests who were there at the Mass weren't just sitting on the grass while the lay people handed out Holy Communion from IKEA bowls, which really happened, then they could have just been celebrating Mass in their own churches. Now, one of the reasons why they probably couldn't be serving Mass was because, like our infamous priest here, Father Guilherme Peixoto, however you pronounce it in Portuguese, here he is celebrating or leading some sort of rave thing. And I'm going to turn the sound off only because I'll get dinged for copyright. So here he is. This was at World Youth Day. Look at him. He's happy. He's living the dream. He's got his rosary bracelet on, so you know he's really Catholic. He's got his jeans on, whatever. And here he is leading the music. It should be noted, he's actually doing this in front of the altar. The altar, you can't see it in this picture, but it's actually behind him. This priest, if I'm not mistaken, I think his name's Father Cappy or something like that. I've seen him around. I think he's the social media bodybuilding. Looks like he's juiced up. Maybe he's not on steroids, but looks like it. You can tell when you've been in the gym for a long time. Bodybuilding priest. So he thinks this is really cool. They got their really cool techno thing going on. Look at these bishops. These bishops are just happy to be there. They got the whole techno going on. Isn't this great? The new springtime is just wonderful. And you look at the crowd, look at the ocean beside, and isn't this wonderful? This is the Catholic faith, people. Big screens, techno music, bishops listening to techno, and bodybuilding priests putting stuff on social media. The new springtime couldn't be better. Well, what else does Father Guilherme do? Well, it's actually on my profile. I got to find that here. And I want to show this because this is the most Again, music off. So, oopsie days, it's going to give me a copyright. Hope I don't get a copyright. Okay, so we're going to go through this here. We're going to go through this. And then what I want to do is I want to show this, and then I want to explain the symbolism, why I'm even showing this, and why this is indicative of the times we live. Beyond just scandal and stuff, it's indicative of a deep metaphysical, spiritual sickness. So here is Father so-and-so, and let's just watch. I apologize. It's not really that scandalizing. I mean, it's no different than the stuff you see people wearing when they walk outside. It's not like you wouldn't wear this to church, but it's not pornographic or something. But I wouldn't show my kids this, put it that way. And here he is. So first and foremost, actually, sorry, I'll just let it play and then we'll break it down. So here we have, whoopsie daisy. Sorry about that. Here we have, I gotta play that again. Goodness. Okay, so let's go back here. So here we have Father so-and-so. We'll start it again. So here he is. He's leading the whole thing. Oh, goodness, it did it again. I apologize for that. Back we go. So here's Father so-and-so leading the thing. We got the fire worshiper guy. We got the weird people in the witch costumes. We got the devil horns. He's got his little magic jazz hands, his consecrated hands doing weird things. We've got the ball thing person. We've got the homosexual guy with the fire and the no shirt on. We've got the ball person thing again. We've got Father with his jazz hands. We've got the lady wearing a weird onesie jumpsuit thing with the fire. And Father's having the time of his life. We got people wearing devil hat, okay. And we've got what looks like the bells of consecration. Back to the weird jester thing with the orb ball thing. Father's into it. He's loving it. And everyone's just getting jiggy with it. Look at that. They're getting jiggy with it. Father's taking selfies. We're breathing fire in front of all the red demonic-looking light. And isn't that cool? Okay. That's really bad. But there's a lot of symbolism here, and I want to break this down. So forgive me if we watch this again. Goodness gracious. We're going to watch this again here. All right, let's pause. So first and foremost, what do we have? We have a Novus Ordo priest. Okay? And our Novus Ordo priest is what? He's at an altar. This looks like a Novus Ordo sanctuary. Obviously, I'm being facetious, but we have a table. We have a priest at a table. Looks like he's ready to do Mass. What are his instruments? His instruments are not the sacred instruments of the Mass. His instrument are music. I can't play the music because of copyright, but his music is it's music that invokes passions that lead to fornication and so forth. We fast forward. We've got the devil worshiping with the people. We got priest. The priest is happy. He's leading this. Isn't this great? We've got the fires of hell. We've got the red demonic colors cascading over Father's face as he leads the people in the worship of self with his table altar. We've got Buddy. He's got the cross on his face, mocking the cross of Jesus Christ. We've got the devil horns. Think about this. This is a Novus Ordo table altar setup with a high altar behind it with the horns of Satan. We've got these interesting individuals. For some reason, it looks like it's weird on your side. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the way I'm seeing it. But these are women dressed as witches, and the one girl has a sickle around her neck as if she's going to cut her head off. That's fun. More devil horns. Father's got his magic hands. Those are consecrated hands. And that's what he's using them for. Okay? He's living the dream. We've got the weird orb ball person thing. We've got the homosexual with the fire, shaking it around. Got the orb ball person thing. Back to Father. Weird, strange lady in the jumpsuit doing the weird devil thing. Look at that. This is a great panoramic shot, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? and, people dressed up like witches. Now, I don't know if those are the bells of consecration or if it's just a mocking of it intentionally, but the symbolism behind this is unbelievable. I'm actually shocked that it's so obvious. We have a priest leading a demonic-looking ceremony with people literally dressed as devils, scantily clad, taking MDMA, doing a bunch of drugs, fornicating. That's what people do at these things. And he's ringing the bells of consecration. Isn't that, it's incredible. It's incredible how clear this is. Okay? Back to the weird orb person thing. And, okay, Father's very happy. People are loving it. Selfies. Blah, 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 blah. All right. And that's it. Okay. So what do we make of this? Listen, beyond the polemics, beyond the crazy nonsense, I mean, this is just bad that a priest is doing this. Why is this so significant? What has been lost since the Second Vatican Council? The sacred. The sacred. What do people crave? The sacred. If you actually look into the lyrics and the style of music of a lot of techno music, a lot of it has to do with entering into heavenly ecstasy states. That's why at these raves and things like that, people literally take a drug called ecstasy, also known as MDMA. Those are various forms of it. I never did those drugs, but I did go to a Daft Punk concert when I was like 19. I was a non-practicing Catholic. And it actually wasn't weird and creepy like this in the same way. But it was very transcendent, the way it was produced and whatever. Why do people go to these things, though? I remember being a 19-year-old going to this event. It wasn't like this. There was no weird macabre devil motif. But the reason people went is because they were really looking to be transported to a place of transcendence. That's what they were looking for. This is why people take these drugs. The reason why they take those drugs, MDMA, ecstasy, whatever, the reason why they do that is because they're looking to be transported to a place where there is no pain, a place where there is happiness and joy and love, a place where there is warmth, etc. They want to go to heaven, but they bring themselves to hell. If you look into a lot of the lyrics about this sort of music, ironically or unironically or unsurprisingly, you'll find references to being taken to heaven. People want that. And I don't think it's a secret that in Europe, Europe is the place where this music is the most famous. And why is that? It's in Eastern Orthodox countries and Catholic countries. Why? Because as they've lost the faith and their liturgies have become banal and non-transcendent, then they've sought out that thing that their soul craves. And they go towards these other places where it's this faux transcendency. You look at the fact that there's a priest of music at an altar, and the people are there worshiping the sound, essentially. There's a lot of symbolism there. And the fact that we have a Catholic priest who is leading a demonic ceremony of intoxicated, lustful fornication, devil worship, which is basically what it is, through music. He's like a puppet master pulling the strings, and that's what he's doing with his fingers. He's like manipulating the people. That's what it's an outward sign of what these people that I used to know a guy who was a big DJ. He was a friend of mine. He explained that it's like you have control over the people. The way you play the music, you can manipulate their emotions. You can basically make them move the way you want. It's very fascinating. He's like he is a real priest, but he's like a demonic priest of ecstasy and intoxication. And even think about that word ecstasy for a second. We talk about the saints going into ecstasy, ecstatic experiences with communion with God. When that's lost, then people look for a fake ecstasy, which is through drugs. The symbolism here could not be clearer. This is a priest of the new springtime who is playing this rave devil music to kids at World Youth Day. And then in his spare time, he literally leads these macabre, occult-looking, demonic ceremonies. Okay, there's the bad news. How do we fix this? Well, you got to understand, the only reason we're in this place is because people in general have lost the sacred. And the reason they've lost it is, of course, the church hierarchy and all the problems, and that's fine. That's another conversation for another day. But how do we actually regain the sacred in our lives? Well, I'm going to say the first thing is this. The first thing you have to do is recapture your imagination. Our imagination, the word image, images, pictures. God gave us an imagination to understand things. People don't understand this. Words on a page are actually pictures. Or they're the scaffolding for pictures. If you look on my screen here, my book, SSPX The Defense, shameless plug, available in the description, you can see the name Kennedy Hall. Well, you sound it out with your phonics, Kennedy, Kennedy. Okay, you put that together to get a word. Once you say that word, you have an image in mind, in your imagination. Maybe you don't think of it like that, but that's what you do. This is why it's so important with children to flood their minds with wonderful imaginative imagery. And the devil knows this, which is why the Drag Queen Story Hour people work so hard, because they want to flood the children's mind with an inverse of childlike imagination. And they want to fill it with, all that stuff. Because they know once they have their imagination, there's going to be a good chance they get them for life. But it's not all bad, because we can actually recalibrate our minds and our imaginations. The reason why people even attend these ceremonies is because they don't find the sacred. They don't find the transcendent in their own churches, in their lives. And therefore, they're like someone who's been starved and deprived of what they actually need as food, and they go looking for poison because they can't find what they need. So what we can do is we can feed ourselves and our imaginations and our minds the good foods. We can feast on the great literature of Christendom. And this is why we have to search for truth, goodness, and beauty. There's many ways to do this. Listen to better music. It doesn't have to be sacred necessarily. It just has to be ordered and beautiful. Read good fiction. Pick up C.S. Lewis. I recommend Taylor Marshall's Sword and Serpent trilogy. I've read that multiple times because I've had to record it, so I read through the book a couple times by the time the book's done. They're excellent. Excellent. Tolkien, George MacDonald was not a Catholic, but he did write beautiful fiction. One of the problems with finding good fiction for Catholics is that a lot of the Catholic world was non-English speaking, of course, whereas the Protestant world was English speaking largely, and therefore there's a lot of Christian fiction that's non-Catholic. So George MacDonald, though, was a great writer. C.S. Lewis I mentioned as well. Find these things. Read them. Fill your mind with these pictures. And then maybe we can't fix the church hierarchy, but we can desire things that are good and transcendent and beautiful rather than desiring things that are transcendent but bring us to hell. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. This has been the Kennedy Report. Until next time, God bless.